KEIR Starmer's leadership, once seen as a cautious but potentially stabilising turn for Labour, is now veering closer to a full-on train wreck. A landslide victory and a mild +5 approval rating have become a distant memory, plummeting to a record-breaking -38 in the span of a few months. And with an all-important budget looming, we're witnessing the kind of pre-budget dread that has even Starmer's own party raising eyebrows, if not outright skepticism. Starmer's tenure so far: a masterclass in over-promising and under-delivering. Starmer's government has decided it's a brilliant time to raise the £2 bus cap to £3. This might seem trivial for those with a nice cushy paycheck and the luxury of alternative transport. But let's remember who depends on public buses: students, low-wage workers, pensioners, and the core base that Labour in theory is supposed to represent. Labour's not even trying to make it look good here. They're practically waving goodbye to the low-income supporters they pledged to serve, leaving many in shock that they have to reach deeper into their pockets just to get to work. When he's not busy taking your winter fuel payments away and increasing your bus fares, he can be found studying the definition of what a working-class person is. Labour, traditionally the party of the working people, can't seem to decide who they are.
But I also know that the working people of this country know exactly who they are.
When asked, Starmer offered the brilliant insight that working people know who they are, obviously confused since his last attempt to define what a working-class person is. Apparently, according to Starmer, you're not a working-class person if you own any shares.
The definition is very broad. Who isn't a working person? Who is a person for whom you think taxes should go up?
Well, it is broad, I accept that. But when
Really broad?
But when I tell you who's in my mind's eye, which is, and I think everybody watching this will know whether they're in this category, because you carry in that situation a sort of knot in the bottom of the stomach, which is, if push comes to shove and something happens to me and my family, I can't just get a checkbook out, even though I've maybe got a bit of saving.
Okay, so for someone who works but gets their income from assets as well, such as shares of property, are they a working person?
Well, they wouldn't come within my definition,
so
but
their taxes could go
yeah,
up.
I mean, you can probably give me any number of examples.
So there you have it. Labour, supposed champions of the working class, haven't even got a clue what a working-class person actually is. Welcome to the Starmerverse. Well, we know one thing for sure: it definitely won't be landlords that will be classed as working class. Expect them to get clobbered in the budget. Of course, Labour will be the first ones to be complaining of rises in rents. Starmer assured the country he'd hit the ground running. Labour allegedly had a 100-day plan with a well-prepped team and a clearly defined strategy. Fast forward, and we're witnessing the political equivalent of someone who showed up to class without their homework. There was no plan. Instead, we're getting consultations, reviews, and more task forces than an action movie franchise. All this from a party that campaigned on real change. How can Labour expect to address the NHS crisis with no actual plan and only a vague promise to arrest the decline? Starmer's promised leadership style was supposed to usher in a new era for Labour, a party in tune with the needs of everyday people, pragmatic yet compassionate. But what we're seeing is a leader with the strategic direction of a weather vane in a windstorm. After touting himself as a steady hand, his moves feel more like panic reactions. Starmer's momentary stint as the most popular politician in Britain is long gone. Instead, his approval ratings have fallen off a cliff, outpacing even Liz Truss's rapid freefall. It's an achievement of sorts, just not the one he wanted. Ahead of Rachel Reeves's budget, Labour's strategy to handle the NHS crisis involves throwing money at it, with little to no mention of a practical plan to fix it. Starmer's big idea: an extra £1.8 billion injected into the NHS with zero strings attached and zero productivity requirements. In typical Starmer fashion, the lead-up to the budget announcement has been a spectacular display of disorganisation. Take the infamous Speaker's reprimand, where Rachel Reeves received a slap on the wrist for prematurely spilling budget details to media before Parliament.
It is totally unacceptable to go around the world telling everybody rather than these members. They were elected by the constituents of this country and they deserve to be treated better. In media interviews last week, the Chancellor announced that she intended to introduce changes to the fiscal rules relating to the funding of day-to-day spending through tax receipts and to the measurement of the public debt. These are major new policy announcements with significant and wide-ranging implication for the government's fiscal policy and for the public finances. It is evident to me they should therefore have been made in the first instance in this House and not to the world's media. I am very, very disappointed that the Chancellor expects the House to wait nearly a full week to hear repeat these announcements in the budget statement on Wednesday. Honourable members may be wondering how they will get a seat on Wednesday. Well, to be quite honest, the way it's going, you won't need to. We'll have all heard it first in here. It's not acceptable. I don't want it to continue, and I want to treat this House with the respect it deserves. I'm not whether this side or that side. It is totally unacceptable to go around the world telling everybody, rather than these members, they were elected by the constituents of this country and they deserve to be treated better, whatever. And isn't it funny? When it was the previous party, it was the opposite side that was complaining to me. Get your acts together, all sides. Treat members with respect.
Just days before the budget, Labour is leaking details faster than a sieve. More a performance of chaotic governance than a serious pre-budget strategy. Starmer's Labour touted as a juggernaut of progressive change, but the reality is becoming almost laughable. His promise to fix the NHS has boiled down to, "We'll throw some money at it, but don't expect miracles." His plan to help working people remains a blur, wrapped in phrases that could have been cribbed from a fortune cookie. And his latest budget ideas are already ruffling feathers, with looming tax hikes and increased wage mandates that could hit small businesses the hardest. The same businesses Labour supposedly wants to support. What's worse, Starmer's public image isn't faring much better. He's now seen as the PM who fails to deliver on promises while making it sound like he's too afraid of real action. His brand of leadership is far from the visionary, transformative approach Labour touted. Instead, he's become a leader out of sync with the issues affecting real people. If Starmer's leadership continues in this vein, Labour's support could vanish faster than his approval ratings. The party has already started hemorrhaging council seats, and with a by-election possibly on the horizon, thanks to MP misconduct allegations, Reform UK could pose a significant threat in former Labour strongholds. This isn't just an approval slump, it's the early tremors of what could be a full-scale collapse. Starmer is on course to go down as the PM who somehow managed to do less with more than any leader before him. With every half-baked plan and muddled message, he's paving his way to becoming the most forgettable Labour PM in modern history.